What's up, everybody? Big Cop Diesel coming at you, and I wanted to talk to you guys that are doing contract security. I want to talk to you about treating that job like a business. And what do I mean by that? So, if you're out here working 1099, which has its pros and cons, and everybody has to decide if that's the right move for you. There's pros and cons to both 1099 and pros and cons to quote W2 work. If you're somebody like me, I do a combination of both. I work a part-time W-2 security position. That the pros to that is that I have some benefits with it. I have some PTO. The biggest benefit for me with that is just that it's flexible enough that allows me to do other 1099 work and teach, the stuff I love to do. On the 1099 side of it, and W2, of course, they take the taxes out. So I don't have to think about the taxes, whatever. They take everything right out of the check, just like any other W2 job. 1099, on the other hand, as you may or may not know, is they don't take taxes out. They just report to the IRS at the end of the year that they paid you X amount of dollars. It's on you, excuse me, to set aside the money for taxes because you're going to have to pay in most of the time. But the pro to that is you get all of your money every paycheck, and then you can decide, how you're going to do that. But if you are working 1099, whether you're doing 1099 in addition to a W2 job, or you're exclusively working 1099, you have to treat it like a business. What do I mean by that? If you don't know, there's a ton of things that you can write off as a small business owner because that's what you are. If you're working 1099, you are a small business owner, whether you realize it or not. So one of the things that you want to do is set up an LLC, which is little to no cost. It's 25 bucks. You go to the state of Michigan Labor and LARA, L-A-R-A, I don't remember what it stands for. You go to that site and it'll direct you on how to set up an LLC. And then once you have your LLC is approved and is online, then you can go and set up a business banking account. And the business banking account they can go online. They can access it online and see that you have an LLC, and then you just do a small deposit and you have your business banking account set up. And then what I recommend is any expenses for your business you pay for with that account. Now, the other thing is, again, you do it how you want, but the easiest thing to do is you have your 1099 money go into that quote unquote business account. And then any expenses you have for working 1099 security, uniforms, boots, guns, bullets, um, range fees, certifications, anything that you are using for your job as a contract security guard, whether it's items that you use every day, certifications, we all know certifications, your CPL, insurance, your firearms insurance, anything that you use as part of your job as a contract security guard, laptops, write off part of your cell phone bill. And of course, you would need to get with a tax preparer, a bookkeeper to help you with that stuff. But now what you're doing is you're treating it as a business. Now, let's circle back to just working the job. So you've done all this stuff. And again, I want you to not be afraid to turn down jobs because it has to make sense for you guys. It has to make sense. The money has to make sense. The type of job has to make sense, whether you're going to travel or not. It all has to make sense because in the back of your mind, now you're keeping books. You have a record of what you're spending your money on, what's coming in, and does it make sense for you to take certain jobs or not? I got a text the other day about an unarmed job at like a haunted house. Guys, come on, come on. No, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. That's just and I've gotten myself to the point where I can be choosy. If you're new to the game, It's just like anything else. When you're new to something, you're gonna do the shit jobs, whether it's a W-2 job somewhere, or even in the security game, corrections, law enforcement. You're gonna be on the shifts that nobody wants to work. You're gonna do the details nobody wants to do, and part of that's working security, right? You may have to take some jobs that you don't care for, but when you're new in the game, you got to get those bills paid. You got to make your money. So for you working an unarmed security job for $25 an hour, it may be what you need to do to pay your bills. But over time, as you get more time, more experience, more certifications, now you can pick and choose and say, nah, I'm not going to do that. I'll wait for something better to come down the pipe. So yeah, so just think about it as a business, treat it as a business. That way you take it more seriously. And again, the big thing, guys, is just don't be afraid to say no. And these companies understand they've got these 1099 companies have rosters with hundreds and hundreds of names on them, so they don't take it personal. They call you or text you and say, "Hey, can you do this job?" And you say, "No, I'm good. I'll pass." They don't even think about it. They're on to the next guy. I know because I used to do that job. I was an operations manager. So my job is just to get through that list as quickly as possible. So if you can't do it, no problem, man. Catch you next time, and then just keep it moving until I get somebody that's going to do it. So don't be afraid to say no because you think somebody's going to get in their feelings about it. They're not. They're not. It's not like a W-2 job where you have that expectation. You're on the schedule. And if you call off or whatever, then a supervisor might get in their feelings about it. This is a totally different game. This is a totally different game because you are literally your own boss, and these companies understand that. These companies understand that you have other commitments. Now, having said that, sometimes it's appropriate to let a company know that you work for other companies. Sometimes I would kind of keep that to myself. There's no law against it or for it. There's nothing legally that prevents you from working for more than one 1099 company. Where you could run into issues is if when you get hired by a company and they specify to you that they do not allow you to work security somewhere else, and you'll probably sign something to that effect, that'll be an issue. And I don't know from firsthand, but I've got friends that work for Pinkerton, for example, and their deal is, as I understand it, if you work for Pinkerton and you work for, let's say, another company, 1099, while you're working for Pinkerton, you cannot take a Pinkerton detail that may have been farmed out to that company as a Pinkerton employee, if that makes sense. So if I work for Pinkerton and ABC company says, hey, we have a detail that's a Pinkerton detail, I can't work it. So be aware of that when you're signing up for these security companies. But Pinkerton's the only one I know of off the top of my head. I mean, I work for several companies, and I know for a fact that those companies don't have any such thing. So just kind of know what you're getting yourself into. Obviously, if you're going as a W-2 security officer, again, might be the same thing. You might have to at least fill out a form that basically lets the company know what you're doing, so that they know what you're doing on the side. At least it's documented. They may not frown upon it, but they still want to know. So just kind of make sure you know the ins and outs of that kind of stuff when you are picking and choosing what companies to work for. Again, guys, with the pay, make sure it's worth your while. If you're driving, if you're going to be, say you're sitting in a parking lot of a building and let's say it's a fire watch, like the building's fire suppression system is down for whatever reason, and they got you in the parking lot and you're in your car, and it's either hot weather out or cold weather out, so you have to run your car. You either got to run your AC or you got to run your heat. Well, that's wear and tear on your vehicle. So again, you might want to make more money on that deal versus a deal where they provide a vehicle, and then it doesn't matter. Same thing with travel. A company may want you to travel somewhere, so they may pay you a lower rate than if you were local, but if they're paying for your hotel, then it kind of evens out. Or if they pay you for travel, And that could either be travel time, so it takes you an hour to get from point A to point B. Maybe they pay you for that travel time. You would just send them a screenshot of the site from your house, like on MapQuest or one of the navigation apps, showing that it's X amount of miles, or in this case time, from point A to point B. And then some companies will pay per diem for mileage. And they usually will go at the federal, whatever the government rate is, and I think it's 65 or 60 cents a mile right about now. So again, in those instances, the company might say, well, I'm going to pay you less money, not meaning they're going to take money out of your pocket, but let's say, for instance, I own ABC Security Company, and my going rate for my officers in the Metro Detroit area is $30 an hour. But I get a job, let's say in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, or maybe in Ohio or whatever, and it requires a hotel stay because it's going to be multiple days. Well, then I might actually pay $25 an hour because I'm footing the bill for the hotel. So there's that give and take. Um, Again, if you're chasing the pager, as they like to say, or chasing the phone, and you take an out of town job, well, it ain't worth it to go out of town for a day or two. If you're going to do it, you should plan on doing it for a week. Number one, you know what your paycheck is going to look like because you're going to get 40 hours or whatever more if you're working 12-hour shifts for 5 days. It makes it easier on the company owner because as an owner, if I can get two guys to go up for a week, work 12-hour shifts, that's easy. I got my two guys locked in. They're committed. They say they're going to do it versus me having five guys and one guy can work 2 days, another guy can work 1 day. So there's all these kind of things to think about when you're trying to decide if you're going to do a job or not. So again, treat it as a business. And you'll find you get a bunch of tax breaks and all that stuff. But again, I'm not a tax professional, and I'm definitely not a banker or an accountant. So don't take my word for it. Do your own research. My job is just to point you in the right direction. All right, guys. Talk soon.